Let me invite our panel moderator, Nicholas Lekweishvili, on stage. I will not be introducing any further because he already inspired with his meaningful presentation earlier today. Nicholas, please, I would like kindly ask to invite your panelists on the stage.
So I want to invite part of the participants for the discussion session. So here they are. It's Manuela Gatto, Niam Galoblishvili, Roman Kristesashvili, oh, hello, pleasure, and Alexandre Okroshidze. So how do we sit? I sit in the middle as a moderator. Okay. Sorry. Let me have my hidden agenda with me. First of all, it's great. Thank you for your attendance, and it's great to be here. It's my first time being a moderator ever in life. So I hope it will work. First of all, it's great the fact that we are here of very different professions, as I understand. We have Manuela as architect, Roman as urban planner, Nia as interior designer, and Lexo as civil engineer. Yeah. So I think that when they asked me to be a moderator, to come up with some questions, I started to think for internally, like what I'm curious. I don't know if it is interesting or not, generally, but overall I kind of have formulated a few of the questions, and this is what I wanted to ask. So one of the questions that I ask myself, and especially of Manuela's position is very interesting for me, but of all, every time I get a private commission, my major question is that can I create public good? Because that's the main reason why at least I try to do some kind of a projects. Some private projects are training or whatever. And is it possible? And if yes, what are the tools to have it?
I hope this is on. Yeah. First of all, you're doing a great job, Nicholas, so, as a moderator. It's a great question, and I think in our case, the sort of blending of public and private realm is at the core of what we did since, when Stacha started. She sort of, in a way, we could possibly say she invented this idea of building merging with landscape. So her mantra was constantly designing building as landscape. And as you design the building as a landscape, automatically you create public space, right? So you create this blending of private and public realm, of in and out. So this kind of like blurring the distinction between the threshold and the outer environment. So that's at the core of everything we do. And I'm sure Goga is here and knows also when we designed our project here with Citizen in Tbilisi that we always wanted to try to bring the public in. So making the building porous, not only this project, of course, all the projects, making projects porous, bringing public in as much as possible, kind of back connecting spaces across, and also connecting spaces in the section, bringing landscape up. Our tower, Citizen Tower has got, this grading green landscapes onto the terrace, and as much as possible, giving access to the public, so for the private to give to the public. And not only, I would say, to make it reasonable, it's not only about giving space to the public, but also for the, making the most for the public realm, but also for the private realm, because what we believe is the more you create pedestrian circulation, the more you create sort of footfall, the more also the private sector gains, you know what I mean? So it's a mutual benefit, I think.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Maybe Roman, you want to add something?
For me, actually, when I first heard your question, I thought you are talking really about the private clients for villas, etc., which also we are dealing once in a while. And there, indeed, you do have almost a direct one moment your lives are really coming together. You need to understand the person, his needs, his family needs, and react on it to make seamless for him let's say, the space he would like to achieve. But if you talk about more kind of a public, private, clients who are building something within the city for as a commercial estate or housing, I think it's a dialogue with the client to achieve the good balance of public-private, because in fact it's always in the end the good public quality of space of those projects create a greater value for the owner later to sell or position it on the market. For example, you might know that we also designed and built Tbilisi Green Tower at Tbilisi Hill at Veranda. There was kind of in the beginning it was conceived like a simple apartment block with a lift hall and doors. And I don't have now a picture on the wall, but if you remember, it has some kind of zigzag facade of a common space, and that actually we brought to the client as a message that look at not so far away past, where actually we were knowing each other as neighbors. We were not only knowing by name, but we even were going to each other as neighbors, which starts to disappear. And we wanted actually by this gesture to open people back to each other. If you are a neighbor, it's actually the closest person to you if you have a trouble. You will not probably be able to call your brother or sister who lives in another side of the city. So that kind of quality, if you bring it with a good argumentation, it comes in, and then it picks up, and you can elaborate on it. In the case of that project, we did define this kind of common spaces of the lift lobby with double height space with even tree inside, which kind of reminded a bit of old Tbilisi gardens where you would know each other. You can maybe drop your bike there. You'll be feeling safe that it will be not stolen. So it's kind of creating arguments which in the end are taking because they have value.
Okay, thank you. Just simply to summarize what you guys said is that from Manuel's side is that how creating public value is through creating public spaces within private space. So we invite the public in, so it creates some type of interaction that creates already a public value, and it's like a mutual good. And from Roman's position is that also there is this kind of a relationship within the private sector, like of the neighborhood and so on, and there are the semi-private spaces that this relationship itself is kind of a cultural heritage, and it already gives its own value to the city. Do you guys want to add anything on the same topic?
Well, I would just add that if the private client is coming when we started this practice, they were not, so people were not aware what we were doing actually. So design was not so common, so they were just deciding to do whatever they wanted. So now they are quite aware and they're kind of prepared where they're coming, and they're just coming to kind of work with us, so they're prepared, and it's quite easy with them to communicate and to explain. And of course, it's our goal to lead the direction and to kind of hear what they want and also contribute to this part.
But why would private client want to do public good outside? Like the private client is a business. Very often, business is just good business is doing more money. That's it. Like they are not artists or something like that. So how you convince that they have to spend 10% more?
That's a part of it. Actually, what I say, it's always like that when I say Georgian special, when you say that you're a designer or architect, so at the same time you're a psychologist, at the same time you're kind of the tutor, and at the same time you're a supervisor, everything, it's combined. So it's up to you actually to kind of provide the perfect solution, and based on his requirements to combine it quite perfectly. So yes, to us.
Good point. But also it's very interesting because Lexo, he himself, he's a civil engineer, but a long time he was a client himself, like he was one of the developers. So tell from the other perspective, like what's your position?
Okay. Hello, everyone. A long day, huh? But very, very intense and very interesting. First of all, I would like to say many thanks to have this opportunity to know all of you and share the platform with the famous and well-known architects. And the day is really amazing. As Nick said, I'm a civil engineer, and what I'm doing here. But I would like to share my point of view because I represent Element Construction, who is the general contractor. So we implement, we build industrial, civil, and hydrotechnical projects. Also, we do design build services and fit-out works. But I started as a structural engineer. So since the very beginning, throughout 19 years, I was very close with architects all the time. And half of my career, I was a client, as Nick said. It is very interesting. And what I want to say is that engagement of the architect since the very beginning of the project till the very end, it is very, very important for me. And I would suggest to every client to engage chief architect till the very end, because it's gonna reduce, mitigate the risks a lot. It is very important because we are facing very many issues, a lot of problems, a lot of risks, because architects are not engaged during the construction process. So this is my suggestion to the clients to integrate, to engage architects till the very end, because architect is the main figure. Architect is not just the designer, but the main figure who manages the project till the very end, because there are a lot of variations, there are a lot of changes, a lot of challenges throughout the implementation process. So involvement of the architect is vitally important. And so this was the point what I wanted to deliver to everyone today. So I'm happy to have this chance.
Okay, thank you very much. Great message. I believe that it is absolutely right. And this threat, it exists in Georgian reality, that after some point, the chief architect is taken out in order to make quicker decisions from the client side, and also for the economical reasons. And at the end of the day, after some point, architect loses the control over the process. And this is a very, very good position, I think. Thank you for...
And don't forget about Dasheneba and Misheneba, which comes after your project is done.
This is part of the reason why they want to take architect out. That they know that it
What I'm talking about, it's after the project is done, it's that they try to build extra floor without you on top.
And this reality exists till now, that they really don't want to see. I had a personal situation that the client really hated me to see on the construction site, despite the fact that I was not anymore contracted, but I'm trying to take advantage on the process. And yeah, this situation still is one of the challenges in this country. So somehow there are new legal instruments that are there to help for controlling this. But I think that also if the business and client and development understand, it would be great. Yeah, and your comment was great. So, sorry. So then I will move to the second question. Okay, so if we go to the history of architecture, like starting from Imhotep and then the Middle Ages and so on, like in the beginning, architect was at the same time structural engineer. It was like religious leader at the same time, wherever. In some time, like this part of the job got split, then became like more structuralized, and the more time goes, time is accelerating and is becoming faster. So I personally, I come from the family of architects, like both of my parents are architects, and very often we have big debates about the idea that how the profession changed. And this is one of the questions, like also you all are people that are on the very contemporary front of technologies, of the process. And so based on your vision, it would be interesting. What are the major changes that appeared, let's say, in the last decade with the merging of technologies, and what are the unchangeable issues of our profession? Like, because this is a question mark also, where we stand. So, please.
Maybe I can start. Yeah, of course, the architect in the Middle Ages was the master architect. No, it was doing everything, but obviously the entire construction process was much simpler, much more repetitive, much more controllable. And we are not in that situation anymore. Now we're in a situation of incredible complexity, and not only growing complexity, but exponentially growing complexity. I think it's been the most talked to topic during the day today, you know, how architecture, how profession is becoming year and year more complex. The intervention of AI is making things even more complicated, as we know. So from our end, I think from the very beginning, we tried to embrace complexity from the start a few years ago. So we always, although Zaha herself had a background in art, of course. She was an artist and an architect, but she was also a mathematician, so there was always a sort of attention to science and technology, and how you can make science and technology part of your creative process, which is what we did from the beginning. At the very beginning, let's say, when I joined 25 years ago, back then we were sort of bridging between handwork, you know, with the sort of like hand models and paintings and kind of like artistic expression that way, and started incorporating the same language in the digital world. We were using back then, you know, early age of Maya, using 3D Max a little bit. So we are starting to work from going into from a world that was made of, you know, let's say the AutoCAD 3D world, which was all made of Euclidean geometry. You had your cone, you had your cylinder, your sphere, and whenever you wanted to create something complex, you had to combine this surface, Boolean them together. It was an absolute nightmare. No creativity whatsoever, because you had something in mind and then you had to translate it into a computer. And then when we started working with Maya, it was the other way around. It was like having clay, you know, you had these amazing surfaces, and really then modeling became a creative process, because you were generating surfaces that you couldn't even think ahead, you know what I mean? There was this discovery happening as you modeled. And this is becoming more and more, you know, we're going more and more in that direction of discovering the unknown by simply using technology. And AI is this, you know, a lot of us who are using AI are precisely using AI to discover more, to think, you know, to invent a creative process that is unfathomable and is not even, you know, there yet. So I think that's the main advantage, being on top of this and being ahead of the curve and making the technology become part of the creative process is what, you know, it's at the core of what we do, and I think that's where, in my opinion, that's where the profession should be going.
Okay, thank you. If anybody wants to say a position about, like, well, in the last decade, like, what is a different thing of our, what has changed, you know, of our position in the construction process and design and everything from the time before, because like this type of a question is very important for me personally, because I want to understand where AI is part of our process. In terms of architecture, should architect understand BIM? What is BIM in architecture? Also, this is also something from your side would be interesting. And again, like, is architect a designer, or is he a designer and builder at the same time, or he doesn't have to be builder and somebody else to be there? So if this is a major question, like what is a place, you know, exactly where with the technology. because Manuela highlighted very well that everything, architecture is all the time following the last moment of technology. So the main change from the previous generation of our technology is AI and BIM, I think, and parametricism. Parametricism, AI and BIM. In this reality, where do we stand?
If I may add, I think we are I don't know if you hear me, yes. I actually have a feeling that we are standing in front of a big rock which will kind of, not kind of parabola, and it's just a small bottom of it which goes up. And kind of ideation of artificial intelligence, parametric modeling, and building information modeling. This will kind of disappear so quickly, because don't forget that what right now happens, we are teaching these engines to do something for us, to simplify our work. And it's a human nature. I mean, you had a bag, we didn't want to carry a bag, they decided to make a wheels under the suitcase. Now everybody is using it. It actually was designed just easier for us. So we always try to ease ourselves to do more. And these tools, I see them like that. But for what is actually interesting for me now, we are at the edge where, in a way, artificial intelligence does what you want to do right now. But one moment, once it's trained enough and it tries training itself, the question is how we can influence it. It will not happen probably with this generation, but there is interesting kind of ideation of how to bring this in a balance back. Because if it's almost like driving is a Google Maps nowadays. It sends you somewhere, and you just follow, because your car, most of the new cars are just equipped with this engine, so they like drive straight. You know, maybe it's a city, and you say, I go to the left, it's easier. So the question is, when do you start still trusting it, or you want to still challenge it? And I think that's a very interesting territory where probably architecture remain itself. To bring the craftsmanship back, because still it's a tool which you can go in automatic mode very soon, like Tesla would drive. Then you are not a driver anymore, you're a passenger. So, but you still probably would drive and be able to use these tools to create more output. So it's difficult. I think it's something more speculative now to talk about it, but in effect, I think that's something I still, for coming, not, I think, like 5 years, and then it will get, we will start asking each other what to do with that. It goes much quicker. I don't know if you notice, but I'm always asking when I meet people, I'm using WhatsApp, and before it was quite straightforward correcting my mistakes because of like mistyping. Now it's not correcting, because actually he's learning from me of my typing. So I need still to kind of go behind him. And I know that the engine behind it just sucks energy from all of us, information from all, to create more imitation how we make mistakes, to make it more kind of tailor-fit to my type of writings, etc. So this is maybe also another story, how actually make IA more tailor-fit to a person. Because otherwise, if you are now will do, or Tim is, I hope Tim is here, he's professional, he is using now a tool, and I use the same tool, and we take the same parameters. How to make sure that we come to different conclusions, which are still valid?
Yep, it's a good question, Mark. And this is also an important question, generally, because as you said, that this is automatically self-learning, and it can outsmart us at some. Maybe we put some input, but maybe in the beginning they are our helpers, but at some point they outsmart us. But maybe just asking loudly, maybe it is a similar thing as when the photography came in. You know, the painting for a long time was art of craftsmanship most of the time. They were just painting as realistic as possible. But the moment when photography came in and it gave exact utilitarian tool, like outcome, whoever needed only utilitarian outcome, it at the same time somehow liberated the art from this part, you know. So maybe somehow in architecture, at some point, it is also what will happen. But I think that we go into very theories. But my major question was that, like for example, while using BIM and while using parametrical design, is architect on the construction site, and for example, very often builders, they don't understand BIM. And in this case, do architects again come back from just a designer to the construction site to explain something? Because whatever parametric design gives, the most best version to convert it into something is BIM, right? You cannot work on two-dimensional drawings anymore.
One thing is the qualification, of course. It's very important, and we are always trying to progress and to improve the qualification of our design and project management teams. But another thing is that BIM, of course, is the game changer. It's no doubt, it's perfect, it's so good. It's a game changer together with AI, of course. But still, in the construction site, and I will carry on from my perspective again, in the construction site, we are pretty often facing the similar issues which we were facing a long time ago. It means why it happens, because the pre-construction studies sometimes are not very accurate, and designs are not finalized, and there are a lot of variations during the construction process. And even the BIM or the harmonization between MEP, between structural and architectural parts are not finalized. So we are implementing the construction, implementing the project, and in parallel the design is changing. Of course, it's inevitable, I can understand that, because there is a squeezed timeline, there are a lot of issues, every client needs to complete their project as soon as possible, yesterday, it's clear, but still, nevertheless, this improvement of the technology, the huge progress in the construction site in Georgia, and not only in Georgia, we are still facing some issues because of the incomplete design documentation. That is the reality.
And the execution problems there are also unqualified execution.
Definitely.
People can't read the drawings, unfortunately.
Well, actually, if you look globally, the whole construction industry stayed in 100 years behind the technology we are dealing with. By even designing, we already are quite advanced. All life around us is advanced, but we are still pouring concrete with very old technology. So still the craftsmanship didn't pick up the speed, like even the car industry. I mean, nowadays, if you buy a new car and something's broken, they are just changing the engine. They're not repairing the engine anymore. With construction, we are still plastering. So maybe there will be one moment way of, that the industry itself picks up the speed. Then we talk about complete different, probably, role of an architect and designer, because that becomes of a different magnitude. But until then, you do the sketches to the contractor on the site.
I think maybe I can share my experience. We work with Revit so we work, let's say, on a normal, besides AI and all this addenda, the normal workflow is Revit, Rhino, and Grasshopper. And in combination, we used to create our own plugins to make these softwares talk before Revit even caught up, and we actually consulted Autodesk to say update Revit so that it would be able to deal with the more complicated geometries. We think it's fundamental. It speeds up everything in terms of production of the drawings, of course. I always make an example. I used to have a large project in China in 2013. I had 40 people working on it. It was 300,000 square meters. Now for the same size project, I probably have half staff. And doesn't mean that the rest are not working. You just do more, obviously. You can take on more projects and so on. You become more efficient. On the construction site, First of all, we sort of force our clients and our consultants to work with Revit, and they do eventually buy into it. We really insist. In China, a lot of local design institutes do not use Revit to probably 10 years ago, and now they all do. When you come to the construction side, there are ways to share that model. You know, you have, you don't need to go there with the Revit model and show them the Revit model, but there are ways to have lighter files that are only for visualizing, and you can literally go there, talk to the builder, show them that corner of the model, and they understand. And it's incredibly easier than going there. Of course, you can go there and sketch. But to be honest, to show them the 3D model, a clear 3D model which loads fastly, which is not a Revit model, is a visualizer. It clears so many things, and you know we do it all the time. We go there with a laptop, show them the corner, show them this detail, and they just you know, the builders understand much easier. So for me, it's essential, and it's really like can't do without.
I think we are out of time. If you want to add something, Nia? And
Well, I would just add that we're always kind of under startup approaches, so we're adjusting to reality. That's what helps us to come up with.
thank you very much. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All.
Thank you.